Mr. Speaker, at this time I'd like to yield myself 5 minutes.
The woman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to lend my strong support to this bipartisan resolution supporting our men and women in uniform and opposing the President's decision to send more troops into Iraq. Last year, Congress united across party lines to say loudly and clearly, the year of 2006 must be a year of significant transition in Iraq. Rather than chart a new course, the President is proposing more of the same. His actions will only deepen Americans' involvement in Iraq's civil war. Instead of acknowledging the facts on the ground, instead of listening to the combatant commanders in the Iraq Study Group, and instead of hearing the American people's call for change, the President has once again chosen to stick to his failed policy. And now he's raised the risk by insisting more U.S. troops head to Iraq. It's been 4 years, Mr. President. The American people have every right to expect a change of course in Iraq. And it's your responsibility to them and our men and women in uniform to stop fighting Iraq's civil war. As General Odom, the former head of the National Security Agency under President Reagan, wrote this weekend, unless Congress speaks up, and I quote, we may be doomed to 2 more years of chasing the mirage of democracy in Iraq and possibly widening the war to Iran. We cannot let that happen. Sending more U.S. troops to Iraq will not stabilize it or the region as a whole. As the latest national intelligence estimate makes clear, Iraq is becoming more polarized and violent, not less. Sending more American troops to Iraq without stronger Iraqi leadership will only lead to further chaos. My consistent opposition to this troop surge is built upon years of hearings in the House Armed Services Committee, congressional briefings, and 5 trips to the region, including 3 to Iraq, witnessing the war firsthand and speaking with our troops and commanders on the ground. I have watched the President plead his case to the American people, trying to justify why more troops will save his failed policy. But I am consistently disappointed by the stubbornness exhibited by an administration that has failed every step of the way. I have stated from the beginning of the war that the Commander-in-Chief has the responsibility to define a well-articulated mission that has the support of the American people and an exit strategy to bring our troops home sooner and safer. He has neither. Top military commanders in Iraq, the bipartisan Iraq Study Group, and the American people all agree that sending more troops to Iraq will not end the civil war. They understand the Iraqi government needs to take responsibility for securing their own country, and we should immediately begin a strategic redeployment of U.S. troops in conjunction with diplomacy that forces Iraq's neighbors to step up as regional responsible partners. If the President sidesteps the Congress, he does so at his own peril, and sadly it is the men and women of our armed forces and their families who will pay the highest price. I believe it is grossly irresponsible to send more troops to Iraq when only 2/3 of our Army's up-armored Humvees in Iraq and Afghanistan have been fitted with the latest anti-IED protective kits. That's over 4,000 Humvees without the right equipment. General Pace has indicated that all armored vehicles will not be up-armored until July, well after the President's surge has occurred. This is why I'm an original co-sponsor of the MEAN legislation that requires the President to ask Congress for an up or down vote if he plans to raise troop levels in Iraq, and why I am proud to support this legislation today. I will continue to challenge the President to abandon his flawed troop surge policy, and I urge my colleagues to support this important resolution. We owe it to our troops and to our conscience. And I yield back the balance of my time.